Editing Jeff here. I want to quickly come on and apologize because this episode is coming out super late compared to the first episode I posted. Um, Quick story: I actually had majority of the footage I needed for an episode months ago. Um, what had happened was, if you know me, I actually have another YouTube channel and I put a lot of videos on it, and it's rail fanning hobby stuff. Well, between doing footage for this channel and that channel, my phone memory, which was holding most of the footage, was full all the time. And in attempts to offload all that memory and get it onto a cloud and a computer, I somehow goofed and I deleted 90% of the footage I had attained for an episode on this channel. There was no getting it back, unfortunately, and it kind of upset me and discouraged me a little bit. But I kind of just needed to get moving on with other projects, and finally now was able to get a video made for you guys. So I do apologize. It shouldn't happen again. I've got the whole memory thing kind of taken care of. So let's get into the video now and get you updated on what I've done here recently. First thing we got to do in this video is we got to put some helper bags on this truck here. Shouldn't take that long. We've got a kit from Airlift. It's the kit that I pretty much put on every truck that I own, and I suggest to anybody, if they are looking for a way to add some sort of helper bag or air spring to their truck when they're pulling campers or bigger trailers. It is a lifesaver on your truck, and it also makes it so that you can drive your truck a little bit easier, have a little better steering, not having that weight on the back of the truck holding the truck up in the air essentially. So let's go ahead and get the wheels off and we'll get into putting the parts on. I've got the holes drilled in the frame, and the top bracket is actually mounted, at least on the driver's side. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting the bottom bracket and the bag in place. We need to go ahead and install the 90-degree fitting on the top of the bag. These do come with some thread sealant on the fitting itself, but I like to be safe and just go ahead and throw 1 or 2 rounds of some thread tape on the fitting. So that's what we're going to do. Just a little extra insurance, and make sure that you're not, getting on the bottom side so that it causes a restriction. The air pressure enough would probably blow past it, but we don't need that in the system right now. So get a couple rounds on there and go ahead and install it in the bag. The bracket has a big enough hole on the top side that you'll be able to slide it in from underneath. Got my wrench. You just need it good and tight. You don't have to overdo it. And that's good right there. It's all pretty self-explanatory on how this goes. And obviously you can see I did take this back off. once I knew I was lined up with my brackets, since I did have to drill the holes, I went ahead and took the bottom off, and we'll put it back. Just like so. Got the U-bolts. Now, before I tighten the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and put the bolts in the top, get this exactly center of the bracket, and then I'll go ahead and tighten the bottom ones up. Well, I've got the other side in, and it's all good and tight. I'm about ready to put the airlines on. And while I was doing this, I noticed I did one mistake. You guys are probably yelling at me the whole time I was doing it. Well, you weren't yelling loud enough because I forgot to put the plate on the top of the bag for the other side. So now we got to go to the other side, drop the bag down, put the plate back on, and then we can say the bags are complete and finished. All right, we're ready for some airline. I've got the airline here that is meant for the kit. I want to show you something that applies to any of the airlines you use, whether it's for helper bag setups or for bag trucks like this truck in the background here. Never cut the airline with scissors or side cuts, plier type cutters. It is not a good way to cut, and you will guaranteed have a leak. You can use a tool specifically like Airlift provides. It's got a blade in it that'll cut straight through it, or just use a good sharp brand new razor blade and straight down on the airline. That way it's a good, clean, smooth cut, and you will not have any air leaks if it is cut properly. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to run this system on one airline. So you only feed one port and it'll feed both the bags. So this is meant to run dual if you want to run individual bags, like air into the bags. If you want one side to be jacked up more than the other. This thing's sitting in there square and exact side to side. So having one port feeding both of them will do just fine. First thing we want to do is go ahead and get the port installed. I recommend these no matter if you're running an air compressor with an automatic switch. Try to run a manual fill port. That way, if you do have issues with compressors, you'll at least be able to fill it and get down the road. Always pick a spot that's easy to access for any type of air chuck. Kind of like this. This is a good open spot. It's out of the way. The only thing that's going to be here is your cable for your trailer. So, good spot. Alright, I've got the airline run to both bags here. All I'm going to do is split this pretty much right in the middle, trying to keep the same length. And then I've got a T-fitting here where both of these will go into. And then we just need to hook up the rear part of the line. Of course, you want to run it out and above everything. Actually, I think I'm going to run it around. Yeah, I need to run it around a couple of things. Also, when dealing with airlines, if you run a fitting onto the plastic airline and you take it off and you need to reroute it, you're going to have to cut it back. If you don't cut it back, you run the risk of having a leak. So make sure you give yourself some extra. That way, when you do want to reroute it, you've got plenty to kind of trim it back some. I'm trying to route the passenger airline as far away from the exhaust as possible. I want to prevent any issues of burning an airline, which I've seen done in the past. I also don't want it cutting on any sharp metal. All basic stuff that you probably figure out on your own. Airlift is nice, and they send zip ties as well. So use them up. Get it so that it doesn't touch anything that will cause you any sort of trouble in the future. Take your time now and set it up properly. You don't want to be doing it on the side of the road with a trailer. Don't worry, I'm coming back to cut those ends. All right. Once you have the lines on tight and you're satisfied with how the line is held up, need to put some tires on it, put some air in it, call it good. Well, we're down on the ground and the airbag is in. Just get on in there. You can see the way these things are set up, they're not supposed to be compressed all that much. The airlift helper bag is just to keep the truck level in technically the factory position or the unloaded position. So you don't want a bag that's really compressed. You can see this is just almost resting like it was outside of the truck. These will expand a little bit higher, but not much. So it's sitting in there just how it needs to be. Everything's bolted in, looks good and tight. Got our valve. So we're going to throw a little bit of air in it and call this truck good. Got a 1957 GMC in the shop. The customer just dropped it off. Got a few things we're going to do to it. First and foremost, we're going to start with inside the cab. We're going to put some sound deadening material inside, kind of help with the sound and the temps, to kind of keep it at a little bit cooler cab instead of the engine bay kind of leaking the hot temp into the cab itself. So that's going to be first and foremost. Second thing we're going to tackle is the fuel pump. We're going to change the frame mount to an in-tank fuel pump. Holley makes a nice aftermarket assembly, so where you can drop the fuel pump inside the tank, help keep the fuel pump cooler, especially on these hot summer days. It'll prevent the system from vapor locking and causing issues while you're driving it. Less issues on the road with these street rods, the better. There's a bed floor we need to fix. The bed floor on this truck is extremely heavy and hard to lift. So we need to add either a manual strut or an air strut of some sort. We'll kind of see what the customer wants to do. But every time you fill up at a gas station, you got to lift the bed floor, and it's a pain. So that's another priority that we're going to try to tackle while it's here. There's some other things. I think we're going to try doing the exhaust. And when the customer dropped it off, I did notice that the airlift system that's on it, it's a 3H. I noticed one of the sensors wasn't working, and it was preventing the one touch from going to a preset height. So we definitely need to fix that. That's kind of crucial for the customer. It's the reason why he put that system on there. So we're going to get it up in the air. We're going to check it out and kind of make a game plan and figure out where we need to go from there. Before we go too far, I was going to show you that this bed floor, it's you can't tell through the video, and I could be faking it, but this thing is heavy. Like, between all the nuts and bolts on the thing, it's gotta weigh 100 pounds. I don't know. It's like unbearable how heavy it is. The fuel tank's right here, and the fuel nozzle or the fuel spout is right here on the left. So it does have a rod, but it doesn't really hold it up very far. And it's just inconvenient. So we're going to try to fix this somehow, some way. If I got to put a new bed floor in it that's lighter, we might do that. But I think we get some struts to put on this thing and just make it easier to lift, because there is no reason for it to be that heavy. You know, it's the customer that owns it's a little older than me, and he doesn't need to be lifting this bed floor every time he wants to fill it up. It's also unsafe. That rod gets hit somehow and your hands are right here, it'd be nub, big nub. So definitely going to fix that. Well, I've got it up in the air, and remember I was saying that ride height sensor wasn't reading properly? Well, there it is. I don't know how long it hasn't had that plugged in, but that's at least a start. We need to get it plugged in. It doesn't look like the wiring's hurt at all, and it's wrapped up further on. So I'm hoping just to plug it in, and we'll try it out when we get it back down on the ground. But rod's not broke, so that's good. All the screws are on tight. Hopefully that is the worst of that problem. Plug it in and might have to glue it. I don't know. I wanted to show you guys really quickly what we're pulling out for the sound material replacement. This is what originally would have been on the firewalls of the trucks. It is really, one, it's unsafe, but it does absolutely nothing. It's like newspaper. But you get any sort of sparks, fuel on this, it just becomes a fire hazard. So definitely good to get all this stuff out. I pulled a bunch of it off. It's all kind of in the floor right now behind the truck. But this is what we're replacing it with. This is flatline barriers. It's something that I've enjoyed using the last few times now. Started off by putting it on a customer's 55, and I've used it a few times afterwards, and I love this stuff. It is super light. It is not heavy like the old sound mat that you would see. It is sticky back, just like the old sound mat, the rubber sound mat. It does well with heat and does great with sound. It's a foam base versus a rubber base. So I like to use this stuff. I recommend it so far on everything. I haven't found anything that's better than it. If you have, leave it in the comments because I'm willing to try it. But flatline barriers seem to be doing the best work. Here we got a start of the sound deadening material in. I went ahead and got the firewall covered up. Got still one spot left here. I've already got it underneath the carpet right now. So getting close. Still got to do the roof here, and we'll be good with the sound deadening material. All right, we got the flatline barriers in place on the roof. We didn't buy the kit for the roof, but I went ahead and took the inside kit and modified it a little bit and was able to squeeze the roof in as well. So got the floor, firewall, the back here. We're going to look at maybe putting a cover here. I don't know what we're going to do with that yet, but I'm going to go ahead and put the cover in for the top and call it good. All right, we got the sound mat inside on the top. We got it all buttoned up, looking good. So should be good there. Got all the material in on the floor. So let's move on to the next task. Let's head over to the back of the truck. It's time to work on the fuel tank and kind of get a game plan of what we need to do with the fuel tank and also the bed floor. So, yep. I did come somewhat prepared. I'm not going to use the little prop rod. We're going to use the big jack handle prop rod. Let's get you in here, take a look, and see what we're up against. Got a nice aluminum fuel cell in it. It's got the frame mount pump right here, which is what we're getting rid of. So what we need to do is remove the bolts, mounting bolts on the sides, remove the inlet hose, really just get it out here. Probably going to fill it up with some water and then go ahead and put a hole. I'm thinking, so the back of this, the front of the tank up here is actually the deepest point. It's actually where the outlet is, right there. So I'm going to have to stay to the front side, which I don't like to do. Typically, you do want to see it on the back of the vehicle, because as you're driving, momentum's keeping all that fuel towards the back of the vehicle. So I may, once I get it out here, we may try to flip the tank, see what it does with the deepest part in the back of the vehicle. I'd love to do that. The only problem is I do have to move this in that case, but minor inconvenience if it works. So let's go ahead and get it out and see what happens. Take a look in there. We see nothing crazy. That's where they welded the frame. That's all that holds that in place. Curious. So if that's how that goes,
If I flip it, oh, it's a different mounting. Oh, maybe not. Just a little bit. I wonder if I can make that work.
I've got the tank out, and we're going to fill this thing up with water. Because, why we're filling it up with water? Because I'm paranoid. And I don't want any explosion. I've got a wife and kids. I don't need to be missing body parts just because of a spark and some fuel that's left over in the tank. So, we're going to displace it with some water. Because water can't explode. At least I haven't heard of it. Well, can it? You know what? I probably need to plug these up so it really fills it. Plus, I need to water the grass. Look how brown it is. Now the question is, when's enough enough? I'd say all the way full, maybe. We got to be getting close, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it. I can't even lift it. It's got to be getting real close. Now, here's the thing. I roughly know where I want it. I do want it back here. And I think I need it dead center because there is a baffle built into this tank. Helps with the sloshing of fuel side to side. So perfect for EFI. A lot of the cheap tanks don't come with the baffles in it. Oh yeah, here we go. All right, so first things first, let's go ahead and mark it. Now, I'm going to use this hole saw as a template because that spot, it probably needs to go right in here somewhere. I know one baffle's here. I can't quite tell where the other baffle is, but we're going to keep it in the center. And I've roughly already marked center here. First mark is in. I always like to do a double mark. Use the light spring, and then bring out the big boy. Leaves a nice indentation for the drill to go ahead and stay centered. All right, it bit. The other reason I really like to do this method with water is it's actually going to push a lot of the shavings out. It's not going to allow it to go to the bottom and get stuck. Just like that. We got a hole. And it looks like we are perfect. Go ahead and shut the water off. Got a little bit of metal we can clean up, but overall, yep. There's a wall, there's a wall. So we're perfect. Perfectly in the center. Go ahead and get most of that out. I see a couple pieces of metal, but nothing crazy. Let's yeah, oh my gosh. I just killed killed the lawn. Let's take it down to the truck and let's put it in. I haven't dried it out completely. I'm not going to worry about it at the moment. We need to go ahead and see about fitting the fuel pump. I got to grab it wherever I put it, get the fuel pump assembly set up as far as depth and everything. And then we'll worry about cleaning this up. Oops, got some dirt there. We might do a little quick polish on it too, make it a little more shinier. We'll see. But I definitely want to get this fuel pump set up. It's right here, actually. Let me show you what we got. You might have seen it. I haven't tried it. This is actually my first time trying it personally, but I've heard a couple good things about it. A couple buddies using it. This is the new fuel pump assembly. We got a rod for it. Got a rod that mounts here, holds the fuel pump where it needs to be. But what you do is you drill a hole like we did, and then this has a very thick seal that once you tighten this down, it's going to hold itself pretty good. I don't see any leak with this in the future. Actually, really don't. That's not being sarcastic by any means. What happens here is when you tighten this up, this little arm, aluminum arm, will swivel and it'll pretty much lock itself under the fuel tank, the top of the fuel tank or inside the fuel tank. It'll flip, and then as you tighten, it's going to suck itself up to the bottom of the fuel tank. So it should be a pretty easy process of installing. It is definitely a much better setup than frame mount, in my opinion. I am not a big fan of frame mount, just too much heat. You want the fuel pump submerged in fuel. That way it can stay cool almost all the time. So let's go ahead and see what we can do about mounting this up. All right. I think I've done the math. It only took a few scribbles and calculator and rig tape measuring a few times. Essentially, on the tank, you find the lowest point of the tank inside your hole, the diameter of your hole. Find the lowest and go to the highest point of your tank, so the outside surface. Take that measurement, take it over to this chart. You find the pump that you have, and let's see. You take this number, which is 13 and 3/16, subtract your 10 and a half, which is what this tank is. You get the number that you cut your line at. So this number is 2 and 11/16. So I got to cut that much off the hose on the pump, or the line on the pump, which then will allow me to fit this where it needs to go on the assembly. I can then attach the pump to the assembly, put the filter on it or the sock at the bottom, and it should be, theoretically, if the measurements are correct, fit perfectly in the tank. So let's give it a try. Here we go. Don't put your finger in there, or anything else for that matter. I think my cutters there need a little sharpening. All right. Step one is in. So I've got the hose on, have the support rod in and cut to length how I want it. I'm going to go ahead and get the clamps put on. Nothing fancy, just some regular hose clamps. Debating, do I want to do, don't really want to pinch the wires, so I'm not going to do anything with that right now. We'll probably use some zip ties, maybe. Don't even know if I want to do that. the less you can put in the tank, the better. All right. Clamp number 1. Is this the right size? It is. All right. Kind of get that in place. Always make sure your head of the bolt is facing the same direction you put the other one. If not, it drives me nuts. I got to take everything back apart to fix it for you. So don't be an idiot. Take a little time. Make sure they're facing the right way. Well, something like that. That pump is not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, it is probably too tight, but we'll snug it up anyways. Yeah, we're good. Plenty good. Part of me wants to fasten this, but I really don't want to pinch it with anything, so we're just going to fold it. It's a pretty stiff wire. Matter of fact, it's perfect. It's out of the way of everything. Now, we have the filter, the socket at the bottom. Make sure that goes on. And they send a little clamp ring. Oh, there we go. Just got to rip from the right end. You can go ahead and push that on. That'll hold the sock in place. I always like to, when you do this, go ahead and push on the little fingers as well. I'll try to give you an up close look at what I'm talking about. You can see there's little teeth right in here. When you slide it on, just kind of make sure to push on these. It'll kind of push it into the plastic. That way this cannot come off. But see, this is what it is. Nice little pump assembly. It's cut to the depth that needs to be. Now we can set this in and call it good. I love it. I'm gonna have to use this more often. Test fit. Go ahead and set this down in there. It's not hitting anything. So that's plus. And I think I'm going to have it come out this way. I am going to leave the tank in the traditional way that it came out. I talked about flipping it to move the deepest parts of the back, but we're just going to go ahead and stick with this method. Now, I really wish I could see the actual depth of it, but the way this is set up, it's got the baffles here, so I cannot see in there, know exactly how deep we are, but let's just go ahead and measure overall length here. Overall length, the deepest. Okay, there. 10.5. So we're just off the bottom, which is what you want. You don't want to suck it up straight from the bottom. All right, let's take you around the block real quick. Got the fuel pump removed. Need to get plugs for these two bottom holes. the previous outlets and actually return as well. So it is in. We're going to go ahead and drop the truck down. You can show you the top. Here's the top side. Fuel pump assembly is in, centered. I do need to hook up the wires here. I got to see if I have any connectors, extra connectors lying around. That way we can just have a plug and play method. That way, if there was any sort of change in the future, all you have to do is unplug it and not cut wires. Here you can see no more fuel pump on the side. That's nice. That'll free up room whenever we want to run the exhaust out the side here, because I think that's where we're going, is out underneath that area. I do need to get a fitting for this one right here. But other than that, we're really close with the fuel pump. All right, it's the next morning. I've kind of done a couple things off camera. I had to run to the store and get some fittings to finish up the fuel tank install, or the fuel pump install. So I've already done that. I've actually already thrown them in. I'll show you that here in a second. I'm just going to go underneath here and double check everything, nut and bolt stuff, make sure nothing's coming loose before I put it back down on the ground, at least for the time being. We still got to look at finishing the bed floor. A little change of plans. I think the customer is going to take this to a car show tomorrow. So I want to have it ready in case he does want to take it, and we can finish up the other stuff later at another time, or he can bring it right back afterwards. I don't know, but that'll be up to the customer. But either way, I do want to try to get it ready for a show. It's supposed to be nice tomorrow. So let's get it down on the ground and test this fuel pump out. All right. The worst part is about to happen. I've got to somehow put fuel in this thing without spilling it everywhere, because I do not have a tube. I don't know where my cap is that has the tube for my race jug, my race fuel jug. Some days. Some days. So funnel it is, and let's not spill. I know what's going to happen. I'm 100% spilling this. Yep. Spilling happening. It's too early in the morning to be lifting heavy objects. And by the way, another off-camera thing I did on top of getting fittings was I'd filled this up with a little bit of fuel just to make sure the bottom fittings were not leaking. That'd been pretty bad. Put all this fuel in and realize your bottom fittings were leaking. They'll still leak. They'll just leak tomorrow. Oh, don't spill now, Jeffrey. Woo! I know you can't see it, but we're definitely running it close to the edge here. How brave can you be? Oh yeah. Look at that. That was the cleanest I've ever done something. I can't fill my lawnmower up drier than that. Almost like I'm learning something. All right, what next? I think the next step is to see if we have power on the pump and see if it'll fire up. Go ahead and flip the switch for the batteries. Let's get you positioned to maybe hear the pump. Set the microphone down here. See if you can hear it. Make sure it's running. Matter of fact, I'm just going to put it right here. All right. Listen for the pump. Yell at me if you hear it running. Did you hear it? I know I did. If you didn't, probably need to check your hearing. Air compressor's running right now. Don't mind that. Let's see. That's so long. Wow, I'm an idiot. It's getting on you guys for how you put your clamps, and this idiot put the clamp on upside down. So now I gotta fix that. All right, I don't see a leak, so let's fire it up. All right, we got it back up in the air real quick. We're going to start working on the exhaust and getting it where it needs to be, because the exhaust is really just dumping right here at the moment. And we're going to get it back past the axle and possibly even run it out the fender. We're kind of going to see what it looks like, because once you cut a hole in the fender, there's no turning back. So I think we're going to do it, but let's just run it out to the back and then kind of see how it looks. I've already made little circles that we can put on the fender and see what it looks like with a hole there. And I'll be the judge, you be the judge, customer will be the judge. We'll see if we like it or not. All right, here's what we're dealing with. I've already cut this one off, back at least anyways. And this one is just dumping down. What we're going to end up doing is going up and above the frame here. We're going to do a little shifting of some lines and some wires to make it work, but I think that's all we're going to do is just get it up and above and then run somewhere in through here and to the fender. I've got just some templates made out, different types. I've got like somewhat of an oval. I've got a circle and a teardrop. We're just going to kind of play around with it and see what we like and don't like. I know fender accents aren't always everybody's preferred method, but if done right, I think it looks pretty good. So we'll see what happens, but for sure, we just need to get it past the axle. All right, check it out. We've got pipe number 1 started. It's running pretty tight, pretty close to the frame. I had to get it low enough to clear the bed floor and the strut arm, but I think we're good. I've checked it multiple times and seems to be fine. I'm going to start on this other side, get it rolling, and catch you back up as soon as I've got it probably tacked in place. I've got the exhaust mounted in place. Originally, I think I mentioned we were going to come out the fender here. Well, we didn't end up doing that after talking with the customer and me kind of seeing it mocked up. I wasn't really happy with it. But where we're at now is now that the exhaust is in place, we're going to mount our secondary mounts or brackets. That way, the V-bands aren't the only thing holding this exhaust on. We're going to mount those just above the shock right there on that little side bracket. And then we're going to go ahead and take it back off and wrap the exhaust, kind of the same as the muffler. Go ahead and wrap the exhaust, probably right where that 90 is, all the way down to those little welds there in the middle. That way it keeps some of the heat off the wires that run along the frame rail and the fuel lines that run along the frame rail on this side. So let's go ahead and get to it, and I'll get you another update as I've got these off and wrapped. All right, here they are. Got the brackets tacked on there. It's now time for some exhaust wrap. So that's the next step. I always hate it. Fiberglass gets in you, you're always itching, but it should turn out pretty good. All right, the exhaust is in. I have got it wrapped up. Looks good. Happy with it. It is dark out, so I'm going to call it a night, and we will get back on this tomorrow at some point. I'm happy with it. It'll definitely keep some of the heat down lower and not directly on the wood bed itself. I do have some wrap for the electric wires and the fuel line that's over on that side. So we're going to get back on it tomorrow when I've got some daylight and a little more energy. All right, here's the finished end result. Everything's in, everything's looking good, sounding good. Nothing really more to do back here. I really wanted to get a cover on the front side there for the battery and the air tank, but it's just not going to happen this time, unfortunately. I'm running out of time and just no way for me to get it done before the customer wants to take it to a show. But I did want to give also a little update. I added this crossbar under the bed. The way that the bed was originally designed, this piece, angle iron, and the piece at the very front where the hinges are, that's really the only thing holding the boards down and together. And it was kind of flexing the bed, and that's not good. So went ahead and added a crossbar. It worked out kind of perfectly because the front here, you can see, has the big lag bolts. That's right in line with where that bar is. So I was able to secure it pretty good. Overall, everything under here, solid. No heat problem that I could tell. I moved that fuel line to the inside of the rail, so that's not being affected by any of the heat on this side. All good. Happy. got it back from the test drive. We shook it down pretty good. Drove it a good ways, made sure that there's not going to be any issue for the customer when he picks it up. And I'm pretty confident that this truck is going to do what it needs to do. It's driving comfortably, sounds good. The air conditioning's working. The sound material inside, the heat dampening material, whatever you call it, it seems to be working great. It's a hot summer day, and it just felt so nice, so comfortable in the cab of this truck compared to what I remember it being the first time. I think it's a night and day difference, and I think the customer is really going to enjoy it. Overall, there's not much for me to do at this point. The customer's just going to come get it. I've got everything knocked off of his list that he wanted. There's a couple things that I kind of wanted to do. I ran out of time for one thing, but customer wants to do something in the future. He's got my number. This isn't the first time I've seen the truck. Hopefully, it won't be the last time. Maybe we can do some more upgrades to it in the future. Overall, truck's doing what it's supposed to do when it leaves the shop. Customer's going to take it, and he's just going to enjoy driving it. And that's what I enjoy most about working on these type of vehicles. I don't want them just to look good, laid out on the ground, whatever, hot rods, race cars. I don't want them just to look good. They're meant to be driven. So if it's not leaving this shop and going on a journey, I failed. I want somebody to jump in it and just go and not have to worry about anything. You modify things, things are going to happen, but you do them right, there's going to be very, very little failure. And so far, this truck's doing really good. So look forward to seeing it in the future. I know he's got a car show he wants to go to this weekend, which is in a couple days. So he's coming to pick it up and clean it up for the show. And I'll catch you next time in the next video. Again, sorry it took so long to get this one out. Hopefully, shouldn't have any more trouble with memory and videos being saved. And the next one's coming out not too long after this one. Got some updates on the green truck. We've made some progress on it, and we've got a lot more to do on it. But stick around for that build. It's going to be a good one. So we'll see you in the next video.